In July 2021, Pacific Plaza Records released Vaporpop, a compilation album featuring some important names and deep-cut artists in the niche internet community. These were all original songs, featuring lyrics, vocals, and conventional music patterns typical of pop music, radical departures from a genre that got its claim to fame as a chopped, screwed, and hazy reimagining of a not-so-distant past. Until recently, Vaporwave has been defined as a sample-based genre, with songs being a warped patchwork of almost familiar songs. But it seems that things are changing. So, how did Vaporwave go from this to this? Vaporwave is a genre that, against all odds, has not only refused to die, but continues to grow and change.
Hi guys, I'm soulsearchanddestroy, and this is the story of Vaporwave's sample-based past, its compositional present, and its possible future. This is the story of how Vaporwave found its voice.
Chances are, when you think of Vaporwave, you think of 𝗦𝘂𝗃𝗃+'s famous Lisa Frank 420, or Private Caller by 𝗃𝗶𝗃𝗃. Both of these feature samples from songs in the 1980s, It's Your Move by Diana Ross, and Pillow Talk by Lust, respectively. When Vaporwave was first conceived in the late 2000s, sampling had become the biggest trend in music, outlasting the more awkward autotune. Pop music on the radio was making liberal use of this technique, with mixed results. Vaporwave, however, went a step beyond, becoming a genre based entirely around samples, albeit ones so completely broken that they were almost unrecognizable. A majority of these samples, like the aforementioned 𝗦𝘂𝗃𝗃+ and 𝗃𝗵𝗃𝗃, consisted of pop, funk, jazz, and R&B from a recent past, mainly the 1970s, 80s, and a little bit of the 90s. They also include samples of commercials, jingles, and movie snippets, all meant to evoke a recent history already lost to time. As the genre moved into the 2010s, more samples were introduced, specifically those of video game soundtracks, sound effects from computers, and music from the Weather Channel. This is most notable in the Vapor Trap album 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝐵𝗏𝐶𝐵𝗏𝐶𝐵𝗏𝐶𝐵𝗏𝐶𝐵𝗏𝐶𝐵𝗏𝐶𝐵𝗏𝐶𝐵𝗏𝐶 by 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 released in 2012, and all albums from his side project, 𝗃𝗂𝗍𝗁.
If this is the best Vice City has to offer, this is gonna be easy.
In 2015, 𝗃𝗏𝗃𝗏, under the moniker Windows 96, would release Vibes, an electronic album whose nostalgic inspiration, such as early internet and computers, and the video game Grand Theft Auto Vice City, placed it firmly within the Vaporwave genre. With its jaunty, memorable tunes, use of familiar soundbites, upbeat melodies, and familiar-sounding instrumentations harkening back to the video games of the 90s and early thousands, Vibes rightfully became a smash hit in the community, and Windows 96 would become a mainstay and legendary name in the genre. In the following years, he would continue to build on and develop the Sega-inspired sound he first created in Vibes, with albums such as 100 Mornings, 𝗦𝗏𝗃𝗃𝗃, Gradient Horizon, Magic Peaks, and In the World, with the last one released under 𝗃𝗏𝗃𝗃, becoming iconic Vaporwave examples in their own right, and further evolving the genre as a whole. Because, you see, there was something special and unique about Vibes, and Windows 96's style overall in the years to come, compared to Vaporwave as a whole at this point. Although it contained some samples, Windows 96 deviated from the norm by creating songs mostly from scratch. In other words, his songs were original compositions. Samples were an afterthought at most, and they would all but vanish as the rest of the discography was released. Yet Windows 96's music was, and still is, considered Vaporwave. And he was not alone. Other artists within the genre ran away with the old internet virtual utopian themes, forgoing samples in favor of original compositions. In 2017, 𝗱𝗻_𝗀𝗃 released Deluxe Memory Suite, a collection of songs evoking the days of GIFs, Chrome, polygon graphics, and MIDI file music. The iconic Advanced Memory Suite would soon follow, cementing 𝗱𝗻_𝗀𝗃's place in the growing Vaporwave pantheon, and furthering the genre of originally composed, sample-free songs. And perhaps one of the most famous examples of Vaporwave music, Resonance by Home, is also not a sample-based song, but another original composition, meant to evoke a certain moment, sound, and feeling in time, with the rest of the album, 2014's 𝗦𝘂𝗂𝗍, following suit. Resonance is so ubiquitous and genre-bending that it has been considered a gateway drug for newcomers getting into Vaporwave, as well as synthwave and chillwave. Despite having no passing resemblance to the OG Vaporwave heavyweights, Resonance is often mentioned in the same breath as 𝗬𝗂𝗋 420, with the two often juxtaposed and even layered in perfect harmony. In the following years, more artists would jump on the bandwagon and create original Vaporwave compositions, straying further from the sample song structures and conventions previously established. Notable examples include Girls on Bikes by Opus Science Collective, By Now by Eyeliner, and Light in Space by Bart Graft. Very few, if any, of these songs or albums contain samples, and bear very little resemblance to the sample-based, classic, or purist Vaporwave. The discographies of artists such as Windows 96, Home, 𝗱𝗻_𝗀𝗃, Eyeliner, and Bart Graft all sound radically different from the purist artists such as Macintosh Plus, Wayfarer, 𝗃𝗵𝗃𝗍, Luxury Elite, Chuck Person, and Cat System Core. But they are all considered to be just as Vaporwave as their sample-based cohorts, and rightfully so. The question is, why? Vaporwave is a genre that thrives on feelings. Despite its heady origins as a niche internet meme and a capitalist critique, it's developed into something deep and genuine, with the sound speaking to the souls of those with memories, real or imagined, of a different time, place, or emotion. Vaporwave has featured vocals and a certain semblance to conventional song structure in the past. The latter is especially true of original compositions, while the former is due to the presence of vocals in the samples of the songs being warped and transformed. However, these vocals are similarly chopped, screwed, and pitch shifted to the point of being almost unrecognizable as human voices. Human presence is generally downplayed in Vaporwave, which, at least in the beginning, was meant to evoke post-apocalyptic or post-utopian settings, the decay of technology, society, and aspirations. Songs are meant to sound like broken relics of a forgotten time and a lost society. In other words, meant to sound post-human. So it makes sense that voices, the ultimate form of human presence, would be similarly distant and distorted, if present at all. This is even reflected in the artists who created these songs, choosing ironic monikers, hiding behind icons and masks, remaining obscured in mystery and anonymity, as if removing their human touch as much as possible from the music. Similar to the absence of the human voice is the absence of human creativity. Sample-based Vaporwave is obvious and overt in its use of already existing content. In fact, the earliest example of the genre highlight that they are completely unoriginal, hammering home the message of the dead-end cycle of capitalism. These songs were meant to evoke a world devoid of human originality, of repetition and appropriation. A sentiment that, in the face of the growing AI trend and the battle over creative content, is all the more poignant and terrifying. This is a convention of the genre that has not only been accepted, but has become expected. Until recently, most considered real Vaporwave to be completely devoid of vocals, and this has been applied to synthwave as well. Many people grew to embrace the lack of convention, form, and human presence in this genre as a means of getting lost in the music. But music changes, just as feelings do. People do not feel the same way they did 15 years ago when the genre was born. They don't feel the same way about certain things. And that includes Vaporwave. The desire to get lost in one's emotions and memories is still there, but now, there's something new in the mix. In the height of the age of isolation, there's a new form of nostalgia that has found its way into a genre built on nostalgia. The nostalgia for human presence. 2021. The global pandemic rages on, and Vaporwave experiences its first renaissance. With people sequestered to their computers and online collaboration becomes de rigueur, the genre explodes and transforms in a way it hasn't before. Along with a boom in physical media, there's also a boom in new artists entering the genre, and the older, more established members inviting these new masses into the folds decide to blaze new trails. Vaporpop was released the summer of that year and became a smash hit on Bandcamp, with hundreds scrambling to buy the first generation of cassettes. And the demand for more has made Pacific Plaza Records continue to reissue it. The compilation album featured famous names within the genre, such as 𝗵𝗄𝗃, Dan Mason, Echo Droid, Donor Lens, and Fake Fever. But what made this album stand out was its tracklist. Not only were each of these songs original compositions, they featured properly recorded human vocals with lyrics, courtesy of their artists. They had proper verses, hooks, choruses, and bridges, beginnings, middles, and ends, like pop songs on the radio. This was a major turning point in the genre.
Now this change hasn't gone over well with some purists. I myself get the occasional flack for featuring Vaporwave and Synthwave songs that feature singing. In fact, I've had a couple of commenters proclaim that the inclusion of vocals automatically makes something not Vaporwave.
Now, no shame to the person who said this, but I disagree. Vaporwave, and Synthwave for that matter, should be allowed to change and experiment. After all, the genre sounds and is perceived in a way differently now than when it was first created. And if anything, this human presence in both the songwriting and the voices has been an overwhelmingly positive shift for the genre, especially with the pandemic in the rearview mirror, and human connection and tangibility being in the spotlight. The presence of vocals, lyrics, and original composition in Vaporwave corresponds to the increased visibility of the artists. 𝗵𝗄𝗃, Dan Mason, Cat System Core, and 𝗵𝗄𝗃, among others, now frequently make live appearances. Entire concerts, events, and festivals are centered around Vaporwave, their songs, and the people who create them. No longer hidden by pixels, obscured by screens, or lost in the anonymity of the internet, but live, flesh and blood, breathing and human, before eager and adoring audiences in venues, just as pop musicians would do. In many ways, the presence of vocals and songwriting signals the end of the uniformly anonymous Wild West age and into a new, less mysterious, but more open, communal, and interactive era, where experimentation, originality, and performance plays a bigger role as simply evoking a feeling. The sample-based song structure certainly isn't going away, with artists such as Luxury Elite and Christ, with 3 T's, receiving critical acclaim in live venues. But this opens the door to Vaporwave to continue to grow, to spread and proliferate as a genre, and encompass an even greater scope of sounds, times, and emotions for its ever-growing audience. Since its arrival on the scene in the dawn of the 2010s, Vaporwave has gone from niche meme to a widespread cultural movement in its own right. As the genre, aesthetic, and its perception changes, so too does its music. In the late 2000s, on the onset of a recession, Vaporwave started out as being a genre of samples, a critique of capitalism. a critique of a world devoid of originality, voice, and humanity. Now, Vaporwave has grown to become a catalyst for humanity's redemption. Like all music, it's a means for communities to bond, to inspire each other, to create a world of interconnection, of creativity in the face of those who seek to remove it, ironically defying the world that Vaporwave warned against, instead inspiring something almost utopian. Vaporwave has not died, and cannot seem to die, because music is immortal. It isn't set in stone. Like all great art, it's eternal. Trends may come and go, recycled with the years, but change is constant. Vaporwave will continue to evolve, as those who listen to it and create it evolve along with it. And with people in desperate need to reconnect with humanity, their own as well as others, it's only fitting that Vaporwave would eventually do the same and find its voice.